Okay, so the first one is... Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with March's TBR. So it is time to talk about the books that I want or am planning to read in March. It's already that month. It's crazy what is happening to time. But yeah, it's time to dip in and see what we're gonna get in the month of March and start planning that TBR. So if you are new here, as always, hello, welcome. I hope you enjoy. Don't forget to click above on the video I did at the beginning of last year where I went over all of the rules and everything that goes into this basket. But without further ado, let's take a quick look at February to see what we're gonna pull this month. So if you remember, February was a little crazy. We had a lot of punishments, I think, and then we also had like random pulls. So we ended up getting 11 books that we had to pull out last month. So I'm just gonna go one by one real quick because I don't feel like holding all of them up. So the first prompt was to read a book in the same place the entire time. So I decided to go with Dreaming Sun, the 6th volume for that one. Then we had a foiled cover, so I went with A Sprinkle of Sorcery. Look at that, so pretty. We had a reread a favorite, which I picked up the first in the Crescent City series, House of Earth and Blood. We had to read a smut book, which we had the Bromance Book Club for by Lisa K. Adams. Then we had read a romance, which I picked up Pride and Prejudice and Other Flavors by Sonali Dev. Then a book set in a warm place, I did If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy, because palm trees. I think it still works. Book that has an LGBTQ plus character, we have Where the Drowned Girls Go by Shauna Maguire, the 7th and the Wayward Children series. We had a book with a light cover, and I went with Dating Dr. Dill by Nisha Sharma. We had a recent purchase, which was Weather Girl by Rachel Lynn Solomon. We had a read a book you are scared to, and I did A Lady by Midnight by Tessa Dare. And the last one was to read a book that will make you smile or you think will make you smile, and I went with Mr. Wrong Number by Lynn Painter. So, of all the books in this list, the only ones I haven't finished yet are Where the Drowned Girls Go by Shauna Maguire, which I am going to finish today as of filming this, so I'm not going to worry about that one. And then I also didn't finish Dating Dr. Dill. This is an arc I've got of the book that's coming out mid-March. So I have started this one, but I've gotten like a chapter in, so I'm going to go ahead and take a punishment for this book because I haven't really made any progress in it, and we'll get to this one next month instead. So we're going in with one punishment pick. We'll see what happens. The plan is 9 picks, but yeah, let's see what the first one is. Pick number 1. Here we go. Read a book set in a cold place. The first one is to read a book set in a cold place, which was oddly really, really hard for me to find a book for. I've got, like, if it's a warm place, I've got it, but for some reason cold place is really hard for me. However, I had some help, and according to a very good source, Wall Street Titan is actually set in like winter time, and this was a book that I was hoping to get to last month. It was actually supposed to be part of that secret TBR that I did last month, the episode 2 and my Book 2 Made Me series, but I never actually got around to it. I kind of ran out of time, but I've got this one ready to go, so I'm going to go ahead and put it on this list, and I've actually got plans to finally get around to it because I was really bummed I wasn't able to get to it. But this is a billionaire romance, and it basically, from what I can understand, is it follows this guy who has like everything except for the wife and the girlfriend and like the romance aspect of his life, and so he starts this dating app, and on this app he matches with someone who is actually, if I understand correctly, she is a hot mess in real life, but she pretends to be this like billionaire on this dating app, and so she matches with him, and I think it's their romance as things progress. But I know that she has like a lot of cats, and she considers herself a cat lady, so I'm very curious what this means. But I haven't read I haven't read a billionaire romance in years. Like, I think the last one I read was before I even started my booktube channel. So I'm excited to finally get around to this one. And now that it's actually on like the official TBR, I will get to it. And I'm very excited. Pick number 2. Here we go. Oh, a random number generator. So the next one is random number generator. And this worked great when I had this video that I did like last year sometime where I had all of my unread books on my TBR. However, I didn't do one of those this year. And I know for a fact that our book catalog is not up to date. And I know for a fact that Goodreads is not up to date either. So I'm just gonna do like a random shelf number instead, which I know is a different prompt, but I don't really have a good number to go with as far as like guessing. So I'm gonna count my shelves real quick. Okay, so there's about 27 shelves here that actually have books on it that I would read. So we're gonna go with somewhere between 1 and 27. So I've got this number generator pulled up on my husband's phone. So we've got 1 and 27. So let's see what it does. Ooh, 23. Okay. Okay, so it's the bottom on this shelf right here. So let's take a look. There's a couple of things on here that I am excited about. It's part of my contemporary section, and it's on the bottom because those are the ones that either I've read or are not at the top of my TBR. So let me have a think real quick. This is a harder decision than I care to admit. I'm down to 2 options here. I could go with The Ghosts We Keep by Mason Deaver, which is on my books to read by the end of the year, but it's really, really sad. It's going to be about grief. Or we could do One to Watch by Katie Stamen London, which is kind of very similar in idea to If the Shoe Fits, where it's a bachelor-style romance show and a plus-size woman in fashion is going on the show. But I'm afraid if I read this one almost directly after that one, I'll get them confused as far as plot-wise, and this is on my list of books to read by the end of the year. But I want to read both of them. I'm very conflicted. Okay, I think I'm going to go with The Ghosts We Keep by Mason Deaver. This is, like I said, on that list of books I want to read by the end of the year. It came out last year. This is the second book by this author. I read I Wish You All the Best and absolutely adored it. And this one is about grief. It follows this boy whose brother dies, and he is dealing with that, and also like the best friend of his brother is like the person he turns to, and I'm not sure if there's any sort of romantic feelings because of that. This is going to heavily talk about grief and things like that. So I'm gonna go into this one. This is my official pick. I'm doing this one. Number 3. Here we go. For goodness sakes. Read a book inspired by history. So the next one is a book inspired by history, which was harder than I thought it would be, because there was quite a few books that I wanted to pick for this one. But I think this one will work, and that is Sister Song by Lucy Holland. This is one of those books that's on my list of books to read by the end of the year, and this is based on a British folk tale ballad, but also in the synopsis here it talks about the Saxons, and it's set at a time where the Saxons were invading the town, and like the Romans were a big part of it, so like it definitely takes place in history and has some historical aspects to it. So I'm gonna go with this one for this answer. So from what I can gather from the synopsis, it follows these 3 siblings who all have like secrets or things that like, just like things that they wish out of life, and they're hiding in the stronghold because the Saxons are trying to invade, and then one day this kind of like magical witch person shows up, and they like brings them power and lies, and it sounds really politically heavy, political intrigue all over the place. So I'm gonna hopefully read this one. That's my plan, to get this one done, because it sounds really good, and I like things based on folklore and mythology, but again, it does seem like it's gonna have some sort of historical elements to it. So I'm gonna say this one. Number 4. Read a book blurbed by an author you like. Next one is to read a book that was blurbed by an author that you love, which is perfect because I needed to get this on here somewhere, and that is the book that I'm reading for my TBR buddy read, which is Any Duchess Will Do. This is the 4th book in her series, and so we're hoping to get to this one and maybe the novella that comes after this one as well. But this one on the front right here, it's blurbed by Julia Quinn, and I love Julia Quinn. So this is, like I said, the 4th in her Spindle Cove series, but it's the first one that's going to take place not in Spindle Cove. So it does follow this Duke who lives in London, and his mom really wants him to get married, and he's like, fine, I'll just bring someone and show you that I don't need to make a duchess. And so he basically finds this serving girl from Spindle Cove, brings her to London, and basically says, I'll pay you if you pretend to be terrible at being turned into a duchess by my mom. And so I think she's actually really good at it, and I think that they start to fall for each other. So I'm very highly optimistic about this one because the last few in the series have been like, it started out not great and it slowly got like a little bit better, but they still weren't my favorites as far as TBR books and TBR writing goes. But this will have a different kind of change of scene, so I'm curious if that will play into my enjoyment of it. But I'm excited that we're going to be diving into this one. This one just sounds quite good and I can't wait. Number 5. Oh, I messed up the thing at the bottom. For goodness sakes. Okay. Read a nonfiction book. Perfect. The next one is to just read a nonfiction book, which is great because I try to get one nonfiction and one middle grade book in every single month. So for next month, I'm going to be picking up Night by Elie Wiesel. This is a nonfiction, very short nonfiction book that's actually the first in a trilogy. I've actually read this one, so this is a reread for me, but I read it way back when I was in like 9th or 10th grade, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. Oh, I'm not sure, but it's been a while, and I remember really enjoying his writing style, even though the topic is not great. It's about him in the Holocaust, primarily when they're leaving Auschwitz, and so it does follow his journey, but I'm not sure what the rest of the series is about, so I'd like to dive into this one so I can get to the other two. But I remember really enjoying how the story was written, so I'm curious if time will have changed my opinions on this. But this is going to be the nonfiction I pick up. Pick number 6. There you go. Alrighty. Read a book with an Asian main character or author. The next book is to read a book with an Asian main character or written by an Asian author. And both. So I'm gonna do the 7th volume of Dreaming Sun. This is a manga series that you guys know I love, and I'm trying to make my way through it. I do have them all at this point. There are 10, so I'm slowly closing in on the end. And there's so many other books on my shelf that I could use for this prompt, but I wanted to pick something smaller because I have some a little bit outlandish reading plans. I've got a secret TBR idea stirring that I'm hoping will come to fruition in March, but we'll see. So I wanted to pick something a little bit simpler, something smaller that I could get to, and also I just love the series. But this is a series that follows our main character Shamana, and in the first book she tries to run away because she feels unloved at home, and she runs into this man at the park, and he basically offers her a place to live. So she ends up moving in with him and a couple of guys that she goes to school with, and it's just the adventures of her finding love, basically. And we had a cliffhanger of sorts at the end of the last book, and the back makes me question some things, and we've now dipped into an area of the story that I don't love as much. So I think based on the back we're about to dip out of that, and I'm happy about that, but we'll see what's going to happen. But yes, we're going to be reading the next installment, and I am excited about it. I forgot to mention also that this is the second time that we have gotten this prompt within, I said it was like 6 months, but we got this one in January. So we're adding another prompt on the end. So we've got 10 now. Yay. Number 7. Oh, here we go. Ah, really good at this one. Read an adult book. So the next one is, oh good lord, the next one is to read an adult book, which is again a prompt that we've seen twice within 6 months. I need to do better at like shuffling or something, so we're adding another prompt on at the end, but this is to read an adult book, which is perfect because I am planning on picking up Desperate Measures by Katie Robert. I'm actually buddy reading this with my friend Taylor. She is one of the biggest reasons why I picked up the series and is kind of just like constantly saying how great Katie Robert is. I picked up one of her other series recently and really enjoyed, or like the end of sometime last year, and I've been dying to actually dive into this one. So she's been wanting to reread it, so we're gonna pick up the first one this month and just see when we can get to the end. I think there's like 6 books in the series at this point, but this is a series that follows Disney villains and other people from their story. So this first one specifically follows Jafar and Jasmine. And do I know more than that? I do not. I think there's more to it, so I would highly suggest looking up trigger warnings for all of these books, just because I know that some of the stuff that Katie Robert likes to write about is a little more taboo than your normal romance books, but I am still very excited because I did enjoy her Greek mythology retelling that I read, and this is a Disney-ish retelling, and I've heard nothing but good things. So we're gonna dive into this series finally, and I am so excited. Number 8. Here we go. Oh, come on. Okay. Oh, no. There we go. We have, oh, a Goodreads TBR one. Ooh, that'll be fun. Okay, next one is the Goodreads TBR, which we've done a couple of times, maybe just once on the channel. So we're gonna do random number generator again, and then pull up my Goodreads and just whatever the number that is associated with that book on my TBR on Goodreads is the one that I'm reading. So let me see, I've got my computer here. I don't actually know how many I've got in my TBR. So according to this, I have 329 books in my Goodreads TBR. So let's do 329 and see what we get. Hopefully something good. 73. Okay, so 73. So I'll plop up here what we've got. Why are we backwards? Okay, hold on. Can we go from 1? Let's go to 1. Ooh, this means it's going to be one that I put on really early on. So 73 is going to be the Queen of the Tearling, which is ironic. That's the first one in the Queen of the Tearling series. So let me grab that. So this is a fantasy series that I've had for quite a very long time, actually. It's by Erica Johansson, and it's a trilogy. I do have all 3 books, and it's been a very long time since I've read this book, or read the synopsis of this, but I know that the first one follows a princess who basically is being given, she's basically taking control of her country, her court, her region again for the first time, and the person who had it before her, which I believe was her uncle, was quite corrupt, and so there's like a war pending, and she's just this young girl who's trying to control, just get into it, get back into whatever it is that she's doing. But her name is Kelsey, which is the reason I picked it up. So I've been dying to get into this series at some point, so I'll see if I can find maybe an audiobook, because I find with kind of higher fantasy series, I find that audiobooks are significantly easier for me to dive into, but this one's not, honestly not that long, but it is the first in a trilogy, so I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna pick it up. So yeah, thanks Goodreads. All right, prompt number 9, and our punishment pick is this one. Okay. And this is read a book not set in the US. Oh. So the next one is to read a book that is not set in the US. And this is one that I tried to also do not the US and not the UK, just to like, it would be very easy for me to just pick up a random Regency romance and go, here you go, it's not set in the US. But I tried to do neither of those because those are the things that I read from the most. But I was able to actually do that. So I found this one, which is Unmarriageable by Sonoya Kamal. And this is a Pride and Prejudice retelling set in Pakistan, and I am ecstatic about it. So it basically takes place at this wedding that I believe takes place over multiple days, and that is all I know. I just needed to know that it was Pride and Prejudice. Honestly, like, that was it. So I'm excited to see the story that I love, like Pride and Prejudice, but in a different culture that I've never read about before. Actually, no, I think I have read at least one middle grade book, I think was set in Pakistan, but I've never read a romance like this before, so I'm very excited about it, and also it's a retelling. Need I say more? Immediate TBR, so I'm excited about that one. All right, prompt number 10, our first just generally added on prompt. Let's do this one, which is to read a shorter book or book that's less than 300 pages. So the next one is to read a book that's like shorter, so about under 300 pages or so, which is perfect because I have to read this arc this month, and that is A Daughter of the Trolls, and this is by Mackenzie Catron. This is one that I was gifted a few months ago, I want to say, end of last year, beginning of this year maybe. I was part of the street team for this cover, and I think it's beautiful, and I'm very, very excited about this. But this one is just about like 242 pages, so well under 300. So I should be able to get to this no problem. We follow our main character named Sparrow, and she lives in this glade with her mom and all these different creatures. So you've got trolls, imps, gnomes, and fairies and things like that. And they basically spend their days keeping this glade safe because there is a skin-stealing, poison-ingesting witch that's out to get them. And so Sparrow has a weak heart, so she's wheelchair-bound, and so they spend their days in this glade trying to keep it safe. And then something goes wrong, and Sparrow is in danger, and I think, it doesn't say on the back, but I assume her mother has been taken, maybe? And so she goes on this adventure with her best friend, half-goblin friend, Rush. And they go on this adventure through a forest. And I'm very interested about how this is going to work because this is from an own voices author. The author herself is wheelchair bound, and so I'm curious how she has written this story to have someone who is wheelchair bound travel through a forest. So I'm very interested to see how she's going to have this representation in a book, and I am beyond excited that I was able to get my hands on a copy of this. It does come out in April, so I've got a little bit of a month to go, but I think it sounds amazing, and this cover is absolutely stunning, so I cannot wait to dive in, and I'm so glad I was able to fit this one in. And hopefully our last prompt, number 11. Is this one, which is, oh dear, all right, read a book that came out this month. And the very last book is to read a book that's going to come out this month, aka in March. So I was sitting here going, what comes out in March? Oh my goodness, I don't know what to do. And then I realized I had an arc that I needed to read. So this is the Valets Secret, and it's by Joel S. Kilpack, I think is how you pronounce it, and I was able to get this one on NetGalley. It does come out like first week of March, so I need to get to this one really, really quickly. But it basically follows this woman who kind of stumbles across, she's kind of like a maid of sorts, and she stumbles across this man who she mistakes as the valet for this duke, and they start having like a little flirtatious relationship, and then she discovers that he's not actually the valet, he is the duke, and so it's their romance, and how's that gonna work, you know? I'm very excited about this one. I have never read anything by this author before, but this one just sounded so interesting I needed to give it a try. So we're hoping to get to that one maybe at the beginning of the month as well, since it's coming out in like a week. Yikes. And that is it. Those are all of the books on my TBR that I would like to read in March. There's a couple more, like I mentioned, I've got like a secret TBR of sorts that I'm working on, and I also need to fit a middle grade in, and just a couple other things that buddy reads and things like that that I would love to get to. So I'm sure there's going to be way more than this, but this is my plan as far as like main TBR goes. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down below if you've read any of the books that I have mentioned in this video. I would love to know your thoughts on them, or if there's something that you are planning to read in March, some buddy reads, a book that you've been putting off, whatever it is, let me know what you're planning on picking up this month. But if you like this video, and I very much hope that you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you'd like to be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media down there, as well as other fun bookish links, so don't forget to check all of that out, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!